Okay, we are recording. All right, all 11 of you are here today. First of all, I'd like to wish everyone a Merry Christmas. If you still need to get me your quiz, you probably should do that before you go too far on your Christmas break. I'm being pretty lenient on turn-in times with all of this challenging technology issues, which I have some from time to time myself. So please get that finished, make that a priority if you don't yet have it submitted to me. Remember that I'm attaching a live recording of the class every time to these links. And get my overhead up here. So here's what I want to talk about next. So on each quiz, we have a spiral part, which now is optional. So just be aware of that, you know, if you got these two grades, let's say a 35 out of 35, a 7 out of 10, that's going to average to a B for right now until you get this spiral up to 100%, which is where it's really meant to be, because it's just two review questions that you spend a little bit of time with them. You should be able to figure things out. But just know, if you don't get 100% on the spiral, you need to retake it. And it's just two questions. So there's two parts to every retake, just like two parts to every quiz. But this is optional now. So if you want to just stay focused on the main stuff, you can. But just do the two on the retake if you're not getting 100%. And that, I encourage that you to take the spiral piece. All right, so I know if I say this on this next section, that you better take your math vitamins, you'll do well. So I'm going to say it, you better take your math vitamins and you better go through the videos. The videos are fresh, so I just did them this last week. So it's not a hurried video from the summer. And where we're headed, I'm not going to call it hard, but I'm going to call it labor intensive. The good thing is you don't need any technology. You don't need a website. You don't need a calculator. This is pure algebra and with what you're doing. And so this is probably the one document that would help you. There's other documents that you can print off, but this one is the one that you would need. And if you'd highlight this stuff, it probably would be the best thing to do, of course, is to watch me do some sample problems. And basically what I've done is all of them in the video. So you can get into the video, open it up, do a problem, check the video, pause the video, do another problem, check the video, so on and so forth. I encourage you to do that. Anyway, so on to function transformations. So to make a long story short, what's going on, and I will be as simple with my first little demonstration as possible. So let's say we wanted to take this function, y equals x, and move it 3 units to the right on the coordinate plane. You would have, let's say, a point on this line, 2, 2, would get slid to the right and would become 5, 2. And notice that you added 3 to the x because we slid it 3 units in that direction. However, the equation becomes y equals x minus 3. So notice the opposite thing going on here. And this is essentially how we're going to put things together. We're going to state what the transformation is, then we're going to write down the inverse that needs to be substituted in. So the equation always appears in what's called an inverse way. You should make these tables, but you don't have to write out these words, but you need to do it one time. Transformation, substitution. So you can just do a T and an S the rest of the way. And I really, it's not required that you do the tables, but I think it just keeps things clear with what you have to do. And I strongly encourage them because it's like the plan that you're going to need to correctly do this. And it's all algebra, no calculator needed, although you can have a calculator. All right, so we want to start by translating this 3 units to the right. So 3 units to the right is written this way. All the x's will go to x plus 3. But the substitution is going to be x minus 3 in for x. And then whatever simplifying that we can do after that, we will do. Step 2, and 4 units down. So 4 units down is written this way. And if you have any question about, okay, what am I using, x or y, come back to this. This top little guy here really does a great job of like talking about all the language, left or right, y side vertical, up or down, okay, scaling, so on and so forth. It just does a very good job of explaining all that different vocabulary. So this is going to be y plus 4 for y. And then each time you substitute in for y, you have to solve for y. And then step 3, a vertical stretch by a factor of 4. So vertically is in the y direction, and by a factor of 4 means that we're going to multiply by 4. So the inverse of that we're going to replace is 1/4 y for y. So when you take the inverse, when it's multiplied by, when one of the x or y's is multiplied, you take the reciprocal. And that's what we have to do in the equation. And I recommend after you're done writing the transformation, just you don't want to look at that. This is what we have to look at. So just to put an X through it so I don't go back to it. And now we're going to do all of this. Let me kind of move my screen there a little bit. We're going to do all of this in here step by step, and then that final answer is the result. And it's all algebra, literally. And pretty much on your quiz, I am going to stick to simpler steps. So some of these are going to get very involved. And this is kind of half and half. So now we have to simplify. So the 3 has to get multiplied in, and then we got to add all the terms together. So 3x minus 9 minus 2 is minus 11. We're done with step 1. Step 2, y plus 4 has to go in for y. And then we got to solve for y by subtracting over 4. Hopefully you mentally can do that. Again, this is all in the video. I do the same thing, exactly the same thing. I just go through all the problems. And then 1/4 y in for y, and we have to solve for y again. Okay, well, what does it mean to solve for y now? We have to multiply everything by 4, left to right. So I'll use a different color here to do that. So y equals 12x minus 60. Can you say 4 in front like this? I would take this also. But you could still multiply the 4 through. So there's an example of function transformations. You really need to do a table like this every time, just so you can keep things straight. And then you want to ignore, once you're done with the transformation piece, that's totally forgotten. All right, so first thing on this, y equals the square root of x, reflected across the x-axis. So we're going to go across x. So literally, you just write that. And now, so when you're reflecting across x or y, you can come here, you replace the opposite variable with its opposite. So opposite variable is y, and we replace it with its opposite. And that's actually going to be a pretty easy thing to do. So negative y for y. stretch horizontally, so that's the x, by a factor of 3. So anytime you see factor, that's multiply. So we're going to do 1/3 x in for x. And then step 3, translate 4 units to the right. So that's x again. And so we have to put x minus 4 in for x. So it's the inverse. You got to learn the idea that it's not hard of what the inverse is. And that's what we're going to do each time. Now we're done with this. Don't look there anymore. This is everything we're going to do. This stands for transformation. The S stands for substitution. So start with what's called the parent function. So negative y goes in for y. Okay, well, solve for y. Anytime you replace in for y, you got to solve for y. Run the negative to the other side. 1/3 x in for x. And simplify. Well, there's stuff you actually could do here, but that's good. We don't need to simplify. And then x minus 4 in for x. That's how that would look. And then you can multiply the 1/3 through. I would accept that as it is. But try to do the distributive property. So either one of those would be okay. But try to, whenever you can, to multiply through to remove parentheses. That's a safe assumption on these. All right, got 9 minutes to get 2 more done. And number 3 is challenging as far as the work is concerned. And if you can understand what's going on in number 3, you'll probably survive this unit beautifully, because it really gets at just about everything that happens. So reflect across y. So across y. So what do? We replace the opposite variable with the opposite. So opposite variable is x, so negative x for x. Step 2, translate 3 units right. And then it says, and 4 units down. So these are the next 2. X goes to x plus 3, y goes to y minus 4. So we replace with the opposite, inverse. Make sure you switch the sign. It's important that you check that out and that you do it. Followed by a horizontal compression, that's x by a factor of 1/2. So whenever it says factor, it's multiply in the transformation side. And so we go 2x in for x, so the reciprocal. So that's all we have to do to this. The problem is some of the substituting with x, you got the FOIL product going on, and this can be a bit of work. First step's not too bad. So there's negative x. We're done with this. We're going to forget about it. There's negative x in for x. So how can you simplify? Well, the negative x squared, negative x times negative x is x squared. So that negative squares out of there. So all that changes on the first line is that the 5x becomes negative 5x. Not a lot of change there. But the next 2, so if you have 2 translations in a row, but they got to be translations, you can do those at the same time. So I can put in the y plus 4 for y, and then the x minus 3 for x. And you'll notice that, now don't be running the Wolfram Alpha on me. You could type that in and expand. I mean, if you wanted to check your work, okay. But you should be able to handle that on your own. So this is x minus 3 times x minus 3. Minus 5x plus 15 minus 3. So I'll multiply the -5 through. So we got to do all of this and subtract 4 over, get that simplified, and then we've got a fourth thing to do. All right, so this is going to be x squared, let me just go underneath there, minus 6x plus 9 when you do the FOIL product. Let me zoom in just a little bit. So you have to think of, you know, first two outer, inner, and last two. And now the 2's got to run through this. So we're going to have 2x squared minus 12x, and then that's got to combine with minus 5x out here. So that's minus 17x. And then 2 times 9 is 18, plus 15 is 33, minus 3 is 30. Then we have to minus 4 over on the end. So that's 30 minus 4, 26. So a little bit of collecting like terms there. That's why I said these, you know, this will test you, your algebra skills. And it's just good to take your time on it and not rush through it. You're not going to have something this hard on the quiz, but it's good to practice harder ones because that's what makes you good at them. So then the last thing is 2x in for x. So now you got to simplify. So this will be 4x squared, and you got to think this way, 2x times 2x. What's the product of all three of those? So at 4 minutes left, 8x squared minus 34x plus 26. Okay, let's see, with 3 minutes, can I do the next one real quick? And I'll do my very best. And if time runs short, it is on the video. So translate 5 units up. So we got to go x minus 5 or x, followed by a vertical compression by a factor of 1/3. So vertical is y. So we got to do 3y for y. And a horizontal stretching, so that's x by a factor of 2. So we got to do 1/2 x or x. That was fast. Okay, please don't skip this. I mean, I know writing it out gets to be easy, but don't skip it because I think it really helps you to see. All right, so first thing, x minus 5. I get that wrong. This, I'm sorry, okay. 5 units up is, it's y, my bad. So y minus 5 for y. That's why you got to check your work. So we got y minus 5 in for y. Y minus 5 on the left here, sorry about that. These are all y's. Up 5 units, y goes to y plus 5. I'll have you guys in class to. So y equals x minus 2 plus 5. Now 3y in for y. Yep. And it doesn't matter if you want to divide the whole thing by 3, that's okay. I got 1 minute left. Can I do it? You can do that, and now 1/2 x in for x. So, and then there will be no simplifying. There you go. All right. I'm going to end on Merry Christmas here. If you owe me your quiz, you need to get it to me. And I will hope to see you face-to-face back at school. But I guess in the way things are going, I wouldn't count on it, but I'm crossing my fingers because virtual is, it's okay, but it's no good for a lot of people. All right, Merry Christmas and hope to see you back at school pretty soon.